Thanks. For more, we're joined here by Sara Prestianni, Advocacy Director for the EuromedRights group. Thank you for being with us here on France 24.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, two different versions. One, that of survivors who spoke to a representative of the UNHCR, who claimed that there was a vessel trying to tow the ship that eventually capsized, and the Hellenic Coast Guard that says, yes, we threw a rope to try to stabilize the boat, but we were not in any way there at the moment when it capsized. What have you learned?
I think that we are in a moment where we have to collect all testimony and be able to reconstruct what happened at sea. But for me, there are a few points that are quite clear now. There is a delayed intervention in any case because the call for distress have been sent by migrants through activists many hours before. And also we clearly see a kind of exactly as happening in Cutro in Italy with the shipwrecks, a kind of way to say, okay, migrant wanted not to be helped, would not be search and rescue. I think that it's a way also to not bring the main responsibility, to not respect the duty of search and rescue. But there is a need to reconstruct everything happened and also to point out the juridical and political responsibility for this intervention at sea that lead to this incredible and tragic number of deaths.
Where does the judicial and political responsibility lie? Is it with the Greek government? Is it the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, saying that this Friday that the responsibility is not Greece's, it's Europe's?
There are so many political responsibilities. The first one is from Haftar's side and the European Union and Italy dealing and instrumentalize.
Haftar, the strongmen in that part of Libya that were from where the ships had set sail.
Yes, at least it's not clear whether it's sailed from there or a big part of migrants have been put in the boats in Tobruk. But it's clear that that's related to the East Libyan migratory routes. We have seen an increase of the barter from Tobruk shore in the last 2 years of Egyptian mailing, but also recently of Syrian refugee, Pakistanis and Bangladeshi. And we see a clearly instrumentalization of the migration file from the two sides. The second political responsibility is on the lack of legal pathway. People risk their life because they have no way to reach Europe in a legal and safe way. The third responsibility is on the fact to not have a real search and rescue operation at EU level. We see an increased number of deaths, and there is a clear need to put in place a search and rescue operation. And the fourth responsibility is of member states that are pushing really the fact to not respect the duty of search and rescue. And we have seen clearly also in other states, with Italy and with Greece, to not intervene as soon as possible. And yes, and that's the consequences in terms of shipwrecks.
Governments, not just Italy and Greece, say if you do focus the attention of agencies like Frontex on search and rescue, that will just create what they call a pull factor and encourage more people to come.
No, the only way to avoid people risk their life is to open legal pathway. I think there is also a global responsibility, and that's clear with the negotiation on the EU Pact on Migration and Asylum, to put the focus of the EU policy on the externalization policy. That means to ask to Tunisian government, to Haftar, to Tripoli, in the past to Turkey, and also to Morocco, to prevent departure. That's push this southern country to blackmail Europe through the file of migration. We have to stop to use migration, to instrumentalize migration in all the negotiation with third country. Let's put the focus on the rule of law. That's the situation that we have to push in Tunisia, or because otherwise the consequences is to see open new migratory routes, and the consequences is the blackmail, and the consequences are these deaths at sea.
You mentioned Egypt earlier.
Yeah.
We have 9 people being questioned by Greek police, and they're all of Egyptian nationality. What more can we say about the crew of this fishing vessel? of what was a fishing vessel.
Yeah, again, we have to reconstruct what happened at sea through the testimony of victims. There is some testimony that also speak that part of the crew escaped, went out from the boats before the arrival, before the shipwrecks happened. 10 persons have been also accused to be smugglers based on the testimony. I really think, again, that the only way to avoid smuggling and trafficking of migrants is to find a legal way to access. And often who organize this trip are based far away from the shipwreck, where the shipwreck happened. And often these smugglers are strictly in contact with the government, who are instrumentalized the migration file.
So in this particular case, we're getting repeated testimony from loved ones of those who are missing that they paid $4,500, $5,000 to get on this ship. Where did that money go?
That money go to big network of traffics, and that's very problematic.
Are you suggesting some of it is also going to in this case, the Egyptian government, since these were Egyptians, these crew members that are being questioned?
We cannot have a clear information on where this money went. I think the justice have to do their work. But what we can keep to repeating as NGO is the only way to avoid the increase of human trafficking and smuggling is to open legal pathway. Anyway, risk their life if they have another option to reach Europe. So the only way to do a real anti-smuggling policy is to open legal pathway and to avoid that people risk their life.
All right, I want to thank you so much for being with us in this program, Sara Prestianni, for here on France 24.
Thank you very much.